sorry, didn't mean to startle you. I'd like to call to order the April meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the town of Silver City. And could we begin, please, by standing and pledging allegiance to the flag. And Commissioner Coast, I want to welcome you back. We're so delighted to see you. Would you do the honors? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Lundy?
Present.
Commissioner Clement? Here. Commissioner Coast?
Present.
Commissioner Seibel? Commissioner Peralt?
Here.
Commissioner Tafoya?
I note that we do have a quorum present. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes for March 6th. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? I had a couple of comments on the minutes. First of all, I want to congratulate staff on a very good job of capturing the testimony that we heard in the public hearing, which is included as an appendix. One item that I do think needs changing is under old business. I think we need to state the reason for the action that we took in repealing the bylaws and rules of procedure. And I think that could be done by adding a sentence, because rules and procedures of the Planning and Zoning Commission are spelled out in the new land use code and other town ordinances. The bylaws and rules are no longer needed. Just to make that clear that we're not trying to operate without rules. Are the appendices, are they considered a part of these minutes, or should they be discussed separately? Staff, do you have an opinion on that?
They're part of the minutes of the meeting, but no action was taken, just there.
Then on page 1 of Appendix A, in the very first bullet point under neighborhood, I think share fruit from needs to be added, neighbors' trees. And then under traffic and safety at the bottom of the page, I think another point needs to be listed that I recall. And please correct me if I'm misremembering, but I remembered several people mentioning that the narrow street for the volume of traffic resulted in unsafe passing that they observed, and that added to the dangers. And
It wasn't passing, I mean, people passing. You're talking about
people passing, no. Talking about cars passing one another.
Overtaking other vehicles.
Overtaking. Thank you.
I don't remember that, but I do remember people making comment that the street was so narrow that when people parked on the street, sometimes on both sides of the street, it was difficult for traffic to pass between the parked cars.
That's true too. Maybe that should also be added. But I seem to recall one person testifying about an incident she observed where a big truck passed another vehicle on that street, resulting in an unsafe condition. I thought that was pretty dramatic. And then on page 2, in the potential solutions list, where it talks about the church providing easement to the town, although the person testifying about that and making that recommendation was not aware of this fact, the commission members did bring up that the church does not own the land that was suggested for that solution of the church providing an easement. And the final point, designation as an official neighborhood, I'd like to add with appropriate signage installed, because I thought that was one of the best ideas that came forward that night, was to introduce that neighborhood and kind of make people more aware that it was a residential neighborhood by having a neighborhood sign or something at either end. And that was it. Does anyone else have any other recommended changes to the minutes?
Madam Chairman, I move we approve the minutes as amended.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Our next order of business is a public hearing entitled DA 1201, which is a request for a dimensional adjustment. And,
Madam Chairman?
Yes?
I want to do old business first.
oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I skipped right over that. Thank you. Boy, I always need my vice chair to keep me on track.
Sure.
Okay, let's have a discussion of the information from the Alabama Street Neighborhood Community Forum. Anybody have any?
I guess my thought is twofold. I thought that was a great meeting. We had a lot of people show up. We had a lot of interaction with the group. A lot of good information surfaced about the situation to help us define the problem, quote unquote. And people also came forward with some potential solutions. So that's my first thought. My second thought is, that was great, now what? And at some point, we need to talk about, where do we go from here with this?
Well, one of the commitments I made as chair of that meeting was that I would take this further to the mayor and town council and to the county commissioners. And I did speak with the mayor and made him aware of the meeting that had occurred, I think it was the day before, and he assured me he'd watch it on CATS, and I think I would like to ask that staff send copies of these, the appendices to this meeting, to all members of the town council and to all of the county commissioners and to the county manager, so that they may read it. I didn't get on the agenda of the commissioners' meeting. They had a very, very full agenda last time, so I thought I'd wait till the next meeting. So I will continue to try to raise this issue with them and express our concern that all of the different jurisdictions involved in any solution of this problem need to work together, and hopefully sooner rather than later, in resolving these issues.
I agree. I think that it went very well. The way it was conducted, I think, went well. Your overview of the whole thing was good. I commend the neighborhood for taking action and showing up in such large numbers to represent their neighborhood and the issues that they're facing. I too have concern. When we have something like that, then we give the impression that something is going to happen, so I'm, without having that much power, and I just don't know, because now we've given them a little bit of hope that, something is going to happen now, and whatever we can do, whatever I can do, I hope we can help this neighborhood out, and hopefully it's not all for nothing, so.
Well, I think our principal goal was to heighten awareness of the issues that neighborhood faces and try to get those bodies that will need to be involved in the solution to raise the priority for dealing with it. I'm sure they're all aware that there are problems on Alabama Street. And hopefully after our forum, and the other things that we'll be doing to put this out there, their awareness will increase. So I feel good that we are going to meet our goals, which had to be limited.
Right.
We don't have it in our power to solve these problems for them.
Well, it could be good that you didn't talk to the council immediately following it, and that we have a little bit of time till it comes up again. And then maybe a little bit of time, and it'll come up again, because I'm a real firm believer in an old adage that what gets talked about gets done. And so if we continue to talk about this, something will happen. But we have to keep talking about it. So it's good that it may have been good that you were delayed a month, because it'll come up again.
I hope so, because I felt the county commission was dealing with a lot of very important issues. It would have just been buried, so I thought it best to wait. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a quick report from the staff's perspective. I know that Mr. Russell and Chief Reynolds went out and toured the neighborhood very recently, and Chief Reynolds is very interested in doing what he can to solve problems about the traffic issue there. And nothing has been set in stone yet, but he's got some ideas that might work out. Also, I talked with some of the neighbors after the meeting, and they were so impressed with the way you handled the meeting and that they were able to be heard, and they really liked that you were down at their level.
I have to tell you, I absolutely hate these imperial furnishings. You know, I think it sends the wrong message about people and their government, and believe me, folks in the audience tonight, I wish we were down on your level and a lot closer to you, so we could see your faces and you could see ours.
Would you like for staff to assure that we set it up that way in the future?
Do other commissioners, let me poll the other commissioners. Do you agree?
I get lightheaded being up this high. I don't like being
I
up here.
wholeheartedly agree. I think it goes very well when we're down.
Okay. We'll make sure that happens then.
Thank you so much. I
bet.
think that'll be a huge improvement. So we apologize for tonight that we are on our mountaintop, but okay, now we can move on to our public hearing, which is BA 1201, a request for a dimensional adjustment. And dimensional adjustments are actually minor changes to the dimensional standards, in this case for the parking plan of new installations going in on Highway 180. The applicant will have the burden of proof for all four findings, and the Planning and Zoning Commission will make the final decision in this case. So, with that said, would the applicants please come forward, and anyone who wishes to testify in this matter? I need to swear you in. It is necessary for you to be sworn in order to speak, but if you are sworn in, you're not obliged to speak. If you would please state your full name and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that the testimony that I am about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, on penalty of perjury. Thank you very much. Okay, I need to ask the commissioners if anyone has had any ex parte communication about this matter.
No.
Okay, that being the case, could we please have the staff report?
All right, this case is dimensional adjustment 1201. It's going to allow a reduction in off-street parking spaces by less than 10% from 88 spaces to 81 spaces. This slide is very hard to see, so if anybody would like, they're available over here, and they're also on camera on this easel. The point to notice most carefully is that the bike parking will be right here by the handicap spaces, and that right here there are truck and trailer spaces that are allowed for because of the type of store that it is. This is the view of the property. It is to the east of Walmart. This is a view of the property facing north toward W Mountain. Across the street is Foxworth Galbraith, and that's just a different view of the property facing Walmart to the west. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall only approve this if the 4 following findings are found to be true. It is consistent with the Land Use Code. The dimensional adjustment is consistent with the purposes of the comprehensive plan, and it will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare, and will not adversely affect the established character of the surrounding neighborhood. It also will not be injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity of the property for which a dimensional adjustment is requested. And let me go back to the parking map. You'll see that in the fine print in your packets and over there on the easel, there's already been an adjustment because they allowed bicycle spaces, and there also is landscaping, which is hard to tell, but these islands will be landscaped, which complies with the Land Use Code, and this island is landscaped. And on the big map, the actual types of shrubs and plants are listed, but it's just very hard to see in the small map. So I would think that most of the questions would be off the location of things on this map.
So what do you mean that an adjustment has already been made in regard to the bicycle spaces and the other things you mentioned, the truck and trailer parking and so forth?
According to the gross square footage of the building, there's an automatic number of parking spaces, but it can be adjusted if they provide certain other types of parking. And also, their truck and trailer spaces that they provided here, because of the type of store that it is, they provided those very large spaces already. So it's more of an adjustment of type, not a number.
And that the 88 figure, that is the start for the calculation, is already an adjusted figure because of these modifications?
In the same way. They have to meet certain criteria, which they do. That would be the 88 because of the bicycles and that kind of thing. If they go on, it's not an adjustment as this type is. If they follow the Land Use Code, 88 are required. So
Places have already given them some extra credits. Is that what you're saying?
yes,
Okay.
but they don't require a dimensional adjustment. It's just part of the Land Use Code.
Right.
I understand the automatic reduction in the number of parking spaces because of the bicycle spaces, but you also referred to the landscaping in that same sentence. Is anything reduced because of landscaping,
No,
or
that's
you were
just the
just noting that
requirements.
you were just
Yes.
noting that
So
there was
that's-
landscaping?
It's hard to tell, but they've met all the requirements for parking. And it's just very hard to tell on the picture in your packet.
Would you be able to tell us how much the original number was reduced with the bike spaces?
Yes,
what the
it's actually
original
on
number
this big map.
Oh, fine.
Accredited by 5 spaces.
Got it.
Let me find one that you can see easily.
I can see it on here now that he pointed it out for me.
Yeah, it's
If you-
very small.
Do you see where it is? Okay.
So, can you read it on that one, or you need to see the larger one?
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, they've also, in effect, sacrificed approximately 3 spaces by providing the 3 long spaces for truck and trailer.
So they are providing those larger spaces because otherwise, truck and trailers would almost have to parallel park in this area, and that would take up a lot of parking. So they create, right,
Be foolish not to have those.
right. So they've created 3 dedicated truck and trailer spaces right there. So,
One of the questions that I hope the applicant will address is whether or not 3 spaces are going to be adequate for what they anticipate in their customer base. In fact, it seems very unlikely to me that anyone would ride a bicycle to make a purchase at a tractor store.
well, they do have clothing and other gift items and things of that nature. It's,
Was never really
Right,
described,
the-
so
the
I hope the
applicant-
applicant will address that as well.
for you.
Okay. If you would come forward, please, and state your name, please.
My name is Brian Miller. I work for Z3 Planners and Surveyors here in Silver City. I'm not directly involved with the Tractor Supply Store. I'm contracted by the development company that is doing the development to provide the facilities to Tractor Supply. Okay, so I'm not in any way at all attached to Tractor Supply's hip, so it's, I'm here just as a subcontractor. But to give you some breakdown on Tractor Supply Store, the name, when the first day that I walked into the town, the city offices and mentioned it to them, you're bringing an implement company to town, what, so no. Tractor Supply Store, there's one in Las Cruces. There's one in Roswell. They're building one right now in Hobbs. We're getting ready to start another one in Bernalillo, and there's going to be several more throughout the state. They're all very similar in nature. They're all over Arizona right now, and this one developer has got basically a quadrant of the United States where he's been given this zone. This is where you can go build the stores. This is where we want to be. New Mexico's on Silver City was on that list. I got to see that list. So there's there's a massive expansion going in right now of Tractor Supply. The things that they carry, I can read off the list. Oops. As the departments, there's agriculture. The agricultural department is going to be livestock feeds, so they'll have a livestock feed, and that's part of where the truck and trailer comes in. Is when the other stuff comes into carry and into play. We would imagine 2 or 3 vehicles at a time that are going to carry, have a horse trailer or a flatbed trailer or something to pick up another implement. The largest implement they carry is going to be a large-scale riding lawnmower. When Tractor Supply Company started well over 100 years ago, they were a large implement supply company, but it migrated into other things. And so they were carrying some other brands that just aren't as popular, still around now. So they've migrated their store into other things. And so it's really a farm and ranch supply. They've got chainsaws. They've got everything Ace Hardware has for the most part, but then ramped up in volume. They've got a lot more to add to it. And so not everything that Ace has, but they share a lot of the same things in common. The brands between Ace Hardware and this store will actually be different. So you'll be able to shop from one store to the other and compare brands and prices. So there'll be some things that are the same. There'll be a lot of things that are different. As for instance, livestock feed. The other things that are going to be different, as far as the departments go. I'll just run through the list of them there. Clothing and footwear we discussed. Equine, so again, horse supplies. Fencing supplies, home improvement, lawn and garden, livestock. There'll be a parts store, so they carry some automotive parts and some heavy equipment parts. Pets, then pet supplies, power equipment, tools and toys, and home decor, trailers and towing, vehicle maintenance and accessories, and then welding supply. They also fill propane tanks and bottles, and so there's a vast, and then during the seasonal months, like right now, they've got poultry for sale, so they've got chicks, geese and ducks and chickens and whatnot, you name it. They've also, other times of the year, like what's going to be coming up, we won't hit it this year with this store, but Las Cruces right now is the Lawn and Garden Center is going to be ramped up. That'll be the outside, most of the outside store display during the warmer months, as you'll see all the potted plants and flowers and vegetables and things like that. So they're going to carry a lot of those things. Going to give you more opportunity in Grant County to have those things. I think it's going to be a good thing for the community as far as increasing traffic in Grant County. I think you'll be more people stopping there, making a point to come to Tractor Supply. There's going to be some things that they need. Right now, I know a lot of people that are making the trip to Las Cruces. Differences in feed costs, for one, I've noticed that just myself, going into the store in Las Cruces and noticing a difference versus our other stores that you're used to purchasing this thing. They're even cheaper than Walmart when it comes to dog feed and cat food and things like that. So you'll see a difference in some price. Bicycles, you're not going to see a lot of people going in there, but there's quite a bit they may carry off with a backpack. As far as the number of spaces go, the number of spaces wasn't dictated by the developer or by the civil engineer. The number of spaces was dictated by Tractor Supply Company. They have a set number and a set floor plan they like to build when they go in. It's pretty well a rubber stamp, and it's based on what they do is they do a pretty large-scale study. They hire an independent contractor to come up with a demographics research study plan for them, and they've generated what they expect. After the first 2 months, don't really fit because there's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of people shopping there because it's the new place. Then after the first 2 months, they see that rush wear off a little bit. We'll start to see things coming back and normalize. And so they've designed their parking criteria for this store based on their demographics, and they've included what they think they'll draw from their surrounding communities. So I've seen these demographics. They're talking bringing people in from Reserve, Mule Creek, Cliff, Tyrone, Lordsburg, Deming, all of the Membris and Hurley and Baird, Santa Clara. So all of those have been figured in, as well as the town of Silver City. So their research and what they think they need is based on their past history of over 300 stores. So they've done a pretty in-depth study. And so they had options of being able to accommodate the 88, but it meant adding on to it, and they just weren't really wanting to do that because it would have meant some changes on what their normal plans are and would have meant some different ideas as far as how they handle their emergency evacuation routing and things. So it really changed some dynamics of what they had already worked into their own plan for having the store at that location. So that was when we asked Peter about it and the staff, and they told us we could move forward with this variance request for this dimensional adjustment. The things that we run into with the city land use code, and you're probably aware of this, is that we don't have a lot of sway when it comes to the different types of businesses that we have in town. So this same number standard is going to apply to Walmart based on square footage. It would also apply to Walgreens based on square footage. It'll apply to all these other stores. Tractor Supply store is probably not going to generate the volume of Walmart, or at Walgreens, even though they're going to be fairly similar in floor size. And so that's where this dimensional adjustment comes into play. It's not that they are really asking for a big adjustment. They just think that, based on the kind of store they are and the number of trips that they're going to generate and the people that are going to generate in trips into that store on a daily basis is probably going to be less than what the design code or the land use code was designed around. And so that's why they're asking for this dimensional adjustment.
Informed that it's incumbent upon you to testify directly to the 4 findings that must be met in order for us to grant that. Do you feel that you've adequately adjusted all 4 of these findings?
I think all 4 the findings are adequately met, and that everything that's there as far as the 4 findings, I don't think there's anything that would prevent them from getting this dimensional adjustment. The requested dimensional adjustment is consistent as stated with the purposes of the land use code. Yes, I do believe that it does. The land use code does allow for the dimensional adjustment. That's why we're here, so it will be in coherent with the land use code. The requested dimensional adjustment is consistent with stated purposes of the comprehensive plan. Yes, it does meet and fit along the stated purposes of the comprehensive plan. We have reviewed that. Granting the adjustment will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare, and will not adversely affect the established character of the surrounding neighborhood. No, it will not have any impact on the established surrounding neighborhood, and it doesn't do anything to affect public safety. In fact, I think because of some of the things they've done with their parking lot and the design, I think that they're above and beyond what they've been required by our land use code and what we would normally expect of a business of this nature. The requested dimensional adjustment will not be injurious to the property or improvements in the vicinity of the property for which the dimensional adjustment is requested. And again, no, it will not be injurious.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you know roughly how many employees you park in there on average?
I do not, I wasn't given that figure. I thought, well, they gave it to me once, but it was for the Las Cruces store, which is larger. And the Las Cruces store is around 11. Okay, so it could be in the 11 neighborhood or less. I'm not sure what it'll be on a full-time basis. Probably more right in the beginning as things are rustling and hustle and bustle and trying to get the store off the ground, but I imagine they'll back off of that some. It just depends on how they manage their store. I know that one of their big things is they train their employees. That's one of their main goals. They train their employees better than most of the other stores that are in their nature, and one of their things that they use is as a role model to compete against is Walmart staff. And so they have training programs for their staff. They train them in the departments that they're going to be allowed to work or they will be working in. And so they pay them more, and there's the benefits and stuff that come along with those employment packages are a little better. So I think because of that, they try to decrease the amount of staffing that they're going to have on a full-time basis. But the people they're going to have will be less, but they'll be more knowledgeable.
Question is, do they occasionally, like, Walmart will occasionally put things out in their parking lot that they have on sale, gardening things, etc. Do they sometimes use up some of these spaces where they...
The site plan, their outdoor sales areas are shown on the site plan. And they are figured in as far as the parking...
The printing on these is so tiny that even with my glasses, it's difficult to see.
These are what we were talking about, the adjustments that were made by the additional parking requirements. This is an outside display area. Another one here, here, and here. Okay, then this is also outside sales. This is the main building is the big square that you see right here. That's the main building. That's the covered building. This side that you see next to it, where Jason's deck, is outdoors, outside sales. That's where you're going to find the riding lawnmowers, run tillers, potted plants, and things that you're going to find during this time of the year. Okay. Then down at this bottom, this portion is also outside sales. It will be concrete and that or asphalt paved. I don't know which of the two. They're debating that back and forth right now what it's going to be, but it will be an improved surface as trailer sales. That will be flatbed trailers, covered trailers, box trailers. You're used to seeing that at Home Depot, probably in Las Cruces if you've been there. So that's what will be in that area. So yes, and then those outside sales areas have been included with the requirements of the parking, and that's part of that 88 number.
So they don't ever take up some of the parking for...
No, they will not take up any of that parking. These spaces are dedicated for the outside sales and display areas, and they will not exceed that. That's one of their written codes. I've seen some of the Tractor Supply stuff, and that's one of their big numbers. So they have dedicated outside sales areas, and that's where it stays. It doesn't go into the parking lot and interfere with those people going in and out.
If they discover through the evolution of the business that 3 trailer spaces are not enough, and let's say they want to go to 4, or maybe they want to go to 5, how would that be accomplished? Do they have to come back through some bureaucratic process to do that, or can they just, through design, add more trailer spaces?
I'm not sure. I would think, this is just off the top, I would think that they can't go below what you approve on your, if you approve the dimensional adjustment. I would think that you could also put that into the condition on the dimensional adjustment as well, that if they decide that they need more. Brian, do you have any idea? Brian's been
I do.
around. Oh, sure. And Jamie has.
I do have part of an answer for you. This area back there, they considered if they need more room, that this could be employee parking back here. So, then that frees up all of this for customers, and this could be overflow also. It's going to be gravel. So, we would have an opportunity to expand the rear of the building for employee parking.
It wasn't my intent that they have to go through some process. I was
Right.
just wondering, evidently, they've done this once before, and so therefore, they probably know a lot more about this than I will ever know. And, you know, when you start out with something like this, you just never know how it's going to turn out, and there could be, at some point in the future, a need for more trailer spaces. And it's not my particular desire to make them go through some other process to get that, if they can just make a rational decision that we need more spaces, so we're going to do this to accommodate it. Because that would be a much better approach than having a situation where somebody comes in there with a trailer and parks along the what would be, I guess, south edge there, and takes up about 10 parking spaces because they don't have a place to park the trailer. But I'm not looking to impose any additional bureaucratic processes on this, but I would think they'd have that in the back of their minds, the ability to make some adjustments. Okay.
That's why the room at the north side, you'll see that they have drawn on there, I believe that's their semi outline for a large truck as far as the delivery vehicle goes. So that gives you some idea of scale as to what the size of that area is with a truck and trailer that will be a typical delivery for them. And so that gives you an idea of what they're going to have back there as far as overflow parking. It's pretty substantial. And so I would imagine that a lot of the reason that you'd bring a truck and trailer in there would be to pick something up. The loading dock is also back there, so if you're having feed loaded and you're going to load it in the back of your truck, you're going to be going back there pretty quick and getting it loaded. So the trailers, I imagine, and the truck and trailer taking up the parking spaces are going to be fairly in and out fairly quickly.
On that note, I would think that there wouldn't be any problem with them adding additional parking and having to get approval for that, but I was wondering if they decided to convert regular parking spaces into these larger ones, that I'm wondering if there would be a process for that. And I'm wondering what the initial process for that was. Was it just an administrative decision to allow the larger parking spaces in place of the regular spaces, or is there something in the land use code that allows that kind of
There's a
adjustment?
minimum size requirement for a parking space, and so these are oversized.
And they're just counted as one parking space each? Oh, okay.
And it's written in the land use code that they can't be any smaller than a
Okay.
certain size, but if they're larger, they're
Okay.
just larger.
I just didn't know if they were like initially 3 parking spaces and were, and, also, I know, for some of in the old land use code, I'm not as familiar with the new one, I admit, for some of the, parking requirements, the number of employees was taken into consideration. I don't know with the new one, if it's just on the building size, or if the actual employee number was required by the applicant and considered in the parking spaces for this request.
Calculated on gross square footage of the building, which includes hallways, restrooms, everything. So it doesn't count the number of bodies that will be in the building at any certain time. It's just gross square footage of the building itself.
And finally, the third one, normally, is there loading spaces on here, or is it just, given that this gravel area is going to, because I also remembered, requirement to see the actual loading spaces on there. They, but they're not parking spaces that are paved, or they're just in the back, there's
No,
loading.
that's for the loading in the back. I believe that they're going to finalize their plans of what will be concrete or asphalt.
Spaces here for employee parking. There will be additional employee parking. It'll probably be like the managerial spaces. And this is the route that comes in for the loading area. So
Yeah, this is different than this.
well, it's the same, it's just colored. This has got a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
different details. So if you look at the bottom.
But it's not, the loading spaces aren't labeled, right? And employee space is not labeled.
Here it
And this
is,
isn't
because
even
it's
on-
gravel.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's
So
not shown on there
it's
because
not-
that's more of a site.
There's no formality that they are they're in the parking lot calculations, the loading
These
spaces
those
and
four
employees.
spaces aren't included in the ADA requirement. These are there and can be used, but they're not striped, there's not bumpers at them, and they're not a dedicated parking space as of yet, so.
Okay.
It's not a requirement.
So the 81 slots are all in front of the building?
Yes, ma'am. All in the-
And do you happen to know how many truck and trailer spaces your Las Cruces store has?
I believe the Las Cruces store also has 3.
And they find that adequate?
It's been adequate for them so far.
Okay. Would you show what you showed to these commissioners, to the others?
One other thing I might also add, in my line of work, I have laid out a lot of parking lots. Okay? We have a uniform standard, and that standard is special. And the standard is 19 feet long and 9 feet wide. Okay? For everybody that drives a normal vehicle, that's pretty adequate. So if you're driving something smaller than a full-size SUV, it works. You probably agree with me. 9 by 19 is a little tough for our vehicles. It makes it a little tough, even at Walmart. I got friends still parked at the back of the lot. Tractor Supply Store are 20 feet long, not 19, and they're also 10 feet wide, not 9.
Wow.
Okay, so the spaces there's 81 of them, but they're bigger than Walmart spaces and Walgreens spaces and all of your other Albertson spaces. They're already looking at the fact that as farm and ranch, most of your farmers and ranchers aren't, well, they might be before.
They're not driving Priuses. Yeah.
Most of them aren't driving,
In other words, it would be possible for somebody with a one-time dually to come in and park.
yeah, so that's been thought out. That was one of the first things I noticed when I saw these plans, because I hadn't seen
The dimensions of that, well, 10 by 20, they cost themselves some space. And that's, yes, with the number of spaces, if you figure out the number of widths by the depth, you probably could get that other 7, just based on that one width criteria alone. But they're anticipating, like I said, this isn't their first rodeo. They've got 300 of these stores nationwide. They pretty well got it down to science what it's going to take, so that's what they requested their civil engineers and that I operate on their behalf to do, is to bring this forward to you, so.
Great, thank you very much.
You bet.
Do any of the commissioners have any further questions for the witness? You two?
Although it's probably not a fair question to ask you guys off the top of your heads. Just to give me perspective, do you know roughly how many parking spaces are in the ACE parking? Probably not? Okay.
Again, I must agree with Brian that they had the foresight to add the truck and trailer spaces. I think that their parking studies are very thorough. And so I'm not sure how many ACE has. I'm not sure of even the size of their parking lot, square footage wise.
It's somewhat complicated by the fact that
It's,
it's an old, that whole parking lot, some of it would be counted towards the convention center, some of it would be counted towards ACE, and I don't know how they would...
And the health council is there as well.
Yeah, right, so it's kind of a convoluted situation.
Convention Center has an event, ACE marks off a small portion of that parking lot, so I'm not sure which spaces actually belong to them, because they rope it off a very small area. So,
Thank you very much. You may Be seated again. Okay, Commissioners, do you want to have some discussion of this issue?
Just for the record, are there anybody that might be opposed that would like to testify?
No one was sworn in besides you and the gentleman, so I figured there wasn't anyone else here to speak on the
Do you
issue.
have anything to say in opposition, Mrs. Cuss?
I'm sorry, I was, doing process rather than common sense.
Just a side note here, I noticed that as part of this code enforcement, said they have a concern with plastic bag debris blowing from Walmart to the new parking and suggested the use of a chain link fence. Obviously, maybe they were trying to see if we wanted to add that on, but to my mind, that's Walmart's responsibility.
I totally agree.
It's their bags, their
I think it has
responsibility.
no part in this discussion. You
Yeah.
can't enter into our decision at all.
Yeah, so I think that I would ignore that entirely.
Yeah, I don't think it would have put the two different.
Yeah.
I guess I still, the land use code does say that a minimum of one loading space with dimensions 15 by 25 shall be provided, and I understand that, there's this gravel space behind it. I'm not sure where the property line is, and, if that, how far out the property line extends, and if that ever gets sold off, are they gonna take away that? It's hard for me to approve a parking plan without it actually labeled that this is the loading space, the minimum one loading space, that is required on here, and, I don't know, it just from looking at the parking plan that's in front of us to approve, we're just, it's not even labeled that, that it's a gravel area, that it's additional parking, I don't know.
And,
I have the copy of the survey here, but in relationship to the site plan, I didn't know how far out the building goes on the survey or anything like that. Okay, thanks, Brian.
The property line is this dash line you see right there.
All right.
Okay. Property line is going to be from here to here.
If you could show all.
I'm going to bring it up, yeah. The property line is going to come from this dash line, and there's a shared driveway here, and it goes back and around. So the edge of this, you're going to see there's a line here and then the inside one. So they're offset about 2 feet inside the property line. The same thing here. The property line is way up here at the top of this This all up here is asphalt. Okay, there's no gravel back here, except for those 4 additional parking spaces that may or may not be for managerial. They were just saying it's an option. They had it drawn on one of their set of plans, and they are going to put the gravel there. It has been put into the bid set. I had heard a lot of bid set documents went for contractors. I know they're planning on having that as a base course area right there for parking. It won't be labeled as such. They don't want it to be misconstrued. This is the loading area, and you can see that the loading area in width is 42 feet. They've got a dimension here. It's 42 feet wide. Your requirements are significantly less. Your requirements are 25 foot in length, and you can see that the length in here, if this is 42 feet, you can see that their length is approximately 180 feet.
Where is the entrance to the loading area? Is it through
No,
here?
The loading area comes from here.
Right, and then when you go in,
No,
because the way you showed your employee parking, it looks like it's right in front of
the trucks will come in here and back in.
it.
Just
Okay.
like this is doing here. Imagine
Okay.
this is the front of the
Okay.
front cab of the truck, this is the back end of the truck. This is the size of the truck of an actual semi
Got
and
it.
trailer. And that's him, but that's the semi, imagine backing up to
Okay.
unload onto the unloading.
All
I
right,
think it's important to note
thank you.
that you can see the kind of opening into the building
Right.
if you look closely.
Okay,
So their requirements is one of the things that they had in there as far as Tractor Supply requirements are required to be able to facilitate 2 semis loading and unloading at the same time.
Wow.
And so our requirements for the city are only 1, their requirements for them are 2.
okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Is there further discussion?
No, we're just trying to figure out this map.
Yes, I must say, this was not a very good tool for us to use because it was so difficult to see what what we were actually looking at.
Even the parking dimensions, that's nice to know that they're larger parking spaces, but you wouldn't know it from looking at this either, so.
A
Exactly.
lot of good thoughts went into this.
I think you're right.
And I think this will be a good thing for Silver City.
I'm delighted that this area is going to be developed. However, the last time this parcel came up before us, it was in regard to a dimensional adjustment for a multiplex. What happened to that idea?
I went to Deming.
Uh-huh. And are they the current owners? It said something about pending sale on March 29th. Did the sale
Current owner
occur?
is Translux Theaters. It's a different group that owns the one in Deming. Well, we all saw what happened financially and economically 4 years ago when they were planning to build this thing. And their offices are based in Connecticut and New York, and they felt the rift coming a long time before we felt it coming out here. And so that was one of the things that happened, is they felt it, the cat coming, and they decided that Silver City might not be a good place for their investment. In fact, just to get out of this, they're taking a loss, just on the sale. What they paid for the property versus what they're under contract now to sell it is less. And so they're one of those things that they paid a lot of money for the design work. I know the engineers, we did a lot of work on it as well. A lot went into that, and they pulled the plug because they just knew that after what happened, it just probably wasn't viable, that they wouldn't. Deming right now is barely making it. And it was a lot smaller scale than what they had imagined for the movieplex here. So they were imagining 7 theaters.
Actually taking place?
Not yet. It is scheduled for Thursday.
Excellent. Okay. Very good. Is there further discussion? Then I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
I would like to move this grant request DA 12-01 for dimensional adjustment to allow for an adjustment in the parking space requirement for commercial property by less than 10% from 88 to 81 spaces as required by the Land Use Code of 2010. Further, that I'll get there. Further, that this request meets all 4 findings as outlined in the request and staff report. And further, that there be no conditions attached to this approval.
And now is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion of this matter? Is the commission ready to vote? All those in favor of approval of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Brian.
Next, we have another public hearing entitled ZC 1201, and this is a zone change request for parcel addressed as 1419 Corbin. They're requesting an amendment to the official zoning map that would change it from commercial to mixed-use district. We have heard matters of this type in this neighborhood before. So first, have there been any ex parte communications regarding this? That being the case, will the applicants and anyone who cares to testify in this matter please come forward and be sworn in? Please repeat after me. I state your full name. Do solemnly swear that the testimony I'm about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, on penalty of perjury. Thank you. Okey-doke. Could we please have the staff report?
All right, this is Zone Change 1201. It's a request to change 1419 Corbin Street from commercial to the mixed-use district. This is a map, as Chairperson Jones has already stated. There's been several properties in the neighborhood that have been changed to residential B and mixed use. This is the property in question, and all of these that are highlighted blue have been changed. The mixed-use district is intended to accommodate a mix of small-scale commercial and residential uses and to provide a transition between commercial and the surrounding residential neighborhoods. Reinvestment, limited expansion of existing residential and commercial buildings, and new mixed-use residential and commercial uses are encouraged in this district. This is a subject property. You'll notice that it is residential in nature. This is a view from across the street. You will notice that it sits right next to a residence on this side, and here on the left is also a residence. This is the view across the street. You'll notice that these two properties across the street are also residential. This is a view facing north. The closest commercial properties are Ambank, which this is their parking lot right here, and then there's an auto shop that you can almost see, and that is all on the other side of this cross street here. So this entire neighborhood south of that street is mainly used as residential. There's a bigger view of the neighborhood so that you can get a feel of the mainly residential use. And would you like me to read the findings required into the record for you, or? Okay. When the Planning and Zoning Commission makes its recommendation to the Town Council, and when the Town Council makes the final decision, they shall at a minimum make at least one of the following findings. Number one, the proposed amendment is in substantial compliance with the town's comprehensive plan. 2, the proposed amendment will not adversely affect implementation of the goals and policies of the town's comprehensive plan. 3, the proposed amendment is justified in order to correct a mistake in the town's comprehensive plan, an error in the assumptions about the property, surrounding uses, population forecasts, rate of land consumption, or other factors. 4, the proposed amendment will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or general welfare, and will not promote the original purposes of the Land Use Code. 5, the proposed amendment responds to changed conditions such as changes in assumptions on capital investments, road locations, population trends, land committed to development, density, use, or further studies that have been completed since adoption of the Land Use Code. The proposed amendment is necessary in order to respond to state and/or federal legislation. And 7, the proposed amendment provides additional flexibility in meeting the objectives of this Land Use Code without lowering the standards of this Land Use Code. It is the opinion of the Community Development Department that this map amendment zone change may be approved on the following findings. That would be numbers 1, 2, 4, and 7.
Would you think that was my place?
Sure.
Ask the applicant to come forward and present her case. Could you please come to the rostrum and state your name?
I'm Colleen Steiner, and I'm the realtor for the property owner who lives in California.
Mrs. Steiner, would you please be aware that you are obliged to select one of those and give some testimony to us about why we can meet at least one of those findings?
Well, I think number 4 is most obvious, that it won't adversely impact the public health or the general welfare. And this block is currently residential So it really is not any change in what it's currently used for. So, and it's not asking for a use that is very different from everything else that's on the block. The main reason for this request is that the lenders used to lend for residential homes. You could get a mortgage even though it was zoned commercial. And after all this mortgage shakeup, they will not give you a residential loan. So that is really our motivation in asking for the mixed use.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions for Mrs. Steiner? We have been down this road before, so thank you very much.
We've been to this rodeo before.
Yes, and I discussed this with the mayor, and he's well aware of the situation. Also eager to get that map change made. Could we have some discussion of this matter? Is there any?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Coates. You may.
We are currently working on making the major broad brushstroke changes. We're hoping to have our first public meeting about the other side of Bullard, for the historic commercial, or the historic downtown commercial district, at the end of this month. And hopefully it will come to you at your June meeting, if things go well and we don't get too many protests at the public meeting. And that would mean that it would go to the council in July. The next big section will be the mixed use about this neighborhood. And this block that she is requesting a change for to multiple use will be included in that area that we're going to be asking for the major change to mixed use. So I just wanted to clarify that. And we hope to have that in front of you within a month or two after your June meeting. So.
Meeting this month for the historic
Pardon?
district? Do you know the date this month of the historic district meeting?
We have it tentatively set for the April 26th. We're waiting to hear back from the Silco, is making sure that we can have the meeting hall that day.
That's wonderful news. Thank you very much. All right, if there is no further discussion, is someone prepared to make a motion?
I move to approve ZC 1201 for a zone change request for a parcel addressed at, on 1419 Corbin, to make it from commercial to mixed-use district. And I would agree with all the same four reasons that the staff put forward, numbers 1, 2, 4, and 7. It is obviously within the town's comprehensive plan, since we're going in that direction. So, I agree with all four.
Madam Chair, I'd like to second that motion.
Very good. Is there any further last-minute discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion carries. Okay. We have no community forum tonight, but and no new business. I would like to discuss the community forum for next time. We've had some recommendations that were made in the past. I was hoping that we could have a general infrastructure status report. I don't know if staff feels that that's feasible for next month, but
I do know that we will have 4 items on the agenda for public hearing cases on the agenda. So if you would like to schedule it, June, maybe the information from, so maybe June with the information from the first zone change public meeting we've had also.
we are going to have an election this meeting. It will be a meeting of transitions. It will be my last meeting on the commission, and hopefully we'll be welcoming a new commissioner, John Tafoya, to our midst, and hopefully Commissioner Seibel will be back in the saddle with us. So, it will be a busy meeting. Maybe we'd better postpone any further community forums. But I certainly hope that that tradition will continue, because I think we've had some very interesting and useful ones, and I think it's a worthwhile precedent that this particular board has established. I hope it continues to be followed. Are there any reports from staff?
I was going to report on the changes that we're bringing forth in the next couple months, but the main thing is that is going forward, and we're hoping that the public will accept the changes readily. We chose the historic downtown commercial area to go first because of the history that we had with more public comment from people who were going the spot zoning through that route. We've had very little public comment with the changes to the mixed use, and so we thought that there was probably going to be a good learning environment for us to go through this, that with maybe what could be the hardest one first, and then we move on. And we're looking at first the historic downtown commercial, then the mixed use, then some residential B areas down at the south end of the commercial along Bullard and not Bullard, but Hudson. And there's some open space that we want to change that is rural now, but we want to make sure that we preserve it with the new land use code opportunity for open space. And then we'll be moving around looking at the other commercial areas that we have the new zoning for. So I'm hoping that you're all ready for taking this on, because we are, and we're going to be doing some of the work on each process simultaneously with the other ones, learning as we go, and but we're going to start one at a time.
And what exactly will be the role of the commission in this process?
The town will be the applicant. The commission will have to recommend to the council that it go forward. We're going to
Hearings, following the public hearings that you will hold, we will be the first panel of review for these changes.
The public meetings that we're going to hold are not public hearings. They will just be public information, outreach, letting people know what we're bringing forward. The public hearings will be you and the council. So, the testimony won't be under oath at the public meetings. They'll just be neighborhood meetings. This is what we're doing and why, and how it can affect your neighborhood or your individual property. Then we bring the formal application to you based on where we saw the boundaries needed to be drawn, historically, what the uses are, that sort of thing. So.
Very good. Thank you.
That's interesting that you decided to do the more difficult area first.
Corbin is actually a pretty hot real estate area right now.
Good.
I've just recently closed a commercial sale. One block up from that, I'm involved in a residential sale. Two houses up from this one. So I mean, there's a lot of activity going on that little block right now. So I think I know we're going to see more, because I'm going to be bringing some. It's an area that there's a lot of activity going on right now.
We have two of the downtown historic district spot zones next time. We're seeing a lot of activity in both neighborhoods right now, and which is a positive sign in Silver City for sure.
I do not want to attend meetings, so we avoid ex parte. So we may need to not attend those meetings, I would assume.
Unless you want to just go for your own property, or make sure that you let people know that you went to the meeting, and then the commission can determine whether or not it's enough to recuse yourself.
disclose that you attended the meeting. And if you could still maintain an objective point of view, that would be sufficient.
I would,
Don't deprive yourself of the pleasure.
But if you weren't discussing it among
Right.
yourselves, then, it's more for facts.
So my fellow commissioners are comfortable with someone here attending.
I don't think it's a problem. I would probably get the advice of the town attorney on that. I know sometimes there's concern with one commissioner receiving information that the others hadn't received and making, and voting with information that,
But on the
but
other
I don't
hand,
know.
when you take on the role of serving as a commissioner, you don't give up your rights as a citizen of the town, and especially if you have property in the area where the hearing is being held, you have other hats that you wear. And I think that's legitimate as well. But if in doubt, do call Mr. Scavern. He's invited us to contact him to clarify any issues like that. So if that puts your mind at rest, by all means, consult him.
Madam Chair, would you like to do that, or would you like staff to contact Mr. Scavern?
Commissioner who wants to attend the session should contact him if they feel that need to clarify the ex parte issue. I think that would be the best way to proceed. And then, by all means, send around his reply on email so we all know. Okay, excellent. Any reports from the commission? And since our community has left, I know there's no community input tonight, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the meeting is adjourned.